Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we try to cut through the noise and get straight to the insights that matter. You've sent us a really fascinating set of sources this time. It's a comprehensive look at one, pretty bold vision for Thailand's future, lays out the challenges, sure, but also some incredibly ambitious solutions. So today, we're diving deep into this address. It covers, pretty much everything. Political stability, economic revival, some really groundbreaking ideas in tech, tourism, you name it. Our mission, as always, is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, help you understand the complexities, the details, and the audacious path being proposed for Thailand.
It is quite a sweep, isn't it? What I find really striking is how the speaker connects all these different dots. From things like domestic confidence or the lack of it right through to international competitiveness. He's painting this really holistic picture of the country's potential.
Exactly. The sheer scope is something else.
So if you're ready to get informed on some frankly surprising facts and some genuinely big ideas, let's unpack this vision for Thailand. Okay, so the speaker kicks things off with a pretty stark concern. He notes that, there's been progress in some private sectors, even some talented government areas, but many parts of Thailand feel, and this is his word, stuck, or even maybe worse than they were 20 years ago. And at the heart of this, he thinks, is something fundamental, a kind of erosion of self-confidence maybe and unity among Thais themselves.
That's a big statement to start with. And it immediately makes you ask, okay, what are the root causes then? What's driving this feeling of stagnation? He actually zeroes in on several critical areas he believes are, holding Thailand back. First up, politics. The political landscape. He draws this really direct, kind of striking parallel to how things were 51 years ago in Thailand. His argument is that the current multi-party coalition governments, they inherently lead to instability. And he contrasts that with what he sees as a stronger, more unified period under the 2007 People's Constitution, which had a single dominant party.
Right. And the bigger picture here, the insight, is that this political volatility isn't just, noise in the news cycle. It actually hinders long-term development.
Yes.
Seriously, his core message seems to be, look, politics can change, governments come and go, but the actual work of national development, that needs to be continuous. Civil servants, the private sector, they have to keep moving forward. And the government's job, really, is to empower and strengthen that private sector.
Okay, but hold on, because this next bit, the economic analysis.
Yep.
This is where he really delivers a wake-up call. He says, despite Thailand's potential, its GDP growth is maybe 22% to even, get this, 75% below what it could be. Right now it's around 600 billion. He argues it could hit 900 billion. I mean, that's a jump that could potentially put Thailand in the G20, not its current spot around 24th globally.
That is a huge gap, a staggering underperformance. And according to the speaker, it's not just bad luck. He puts it down to what he calls mismanagement. Basically, a lack of clear strategy, no consistent direction. Another huge factor he points to, the central bank's approach. He thinks it's been overly cautious. Now, obviously, they're trying to avoid another 1997 Tom Yongun crisis, that huge currency meltdown, you remember. But he believes they've pulled too much money out of the system as a result, and that's made commercial banks really risk-averse. So businesses, especially smaller ones, just can't get the capital they need.
Yeah, and it's not just the big picture policy either. He talks about the struggles of small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, a big part of that, unchecked imports. He mentions cheap Chinese goods flooding the market, sometimes bypassing quality controls like the FDA. And he suggests, sometimes there's corruption involved at borders, customs, and the reality for local SMEs. They just can't compete on price or get the scale they need. It's tough.
And then there's the household debt problem. That's another major weight. It's currently at an alarming 92% of GDP. This isn't exactly new, but it's been made worse by a long stretch of, weak economic conditions even before COVID hit. Plus, you've got losses from things like online gambling, various scams. That just sucks money out of the real economy.
He also touches on government efficiency, or maybe the lack of it. He describes how civil services, in some ways, have actually gotten worse, losing that traditional service mind, that Thai emphasis on being helpful, hospitable in public service. He even gives examples like needing unofficial fast-track fees just for basic stuff, like getting a land survey done. His suggestion is pretty controversial. Maybe it's better to just collect official higher fees, but do it on the table, transparently. Make it calculable, ensure quality service.
Interesting take. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. Pretty blunt.
Right. But he doesn't just leave it there. He pivots pretty sharply to this incredibly ambitious, multi-pronged plan for change. He's not messing around. This aims to fundamentally re-engineer things.
Yeah, what's really fascinating, I think, is his focus on creating entirely new ecosystems, economic ones, social ones, while also trying to modernize the old structures. It's not just fixing, it's like reimagining.
So remember that massive household debt, 92% of GDP.
Yeah, hard to forget.
Well, his first big idea is to set up a new asset management company, an AMC, but focus specifically on civilians, on ordinary people. The key insight here is that it needs to be totally different from the existing state-owned AMCs. Different management, a different approach. The goal is genuinely helping people drowning in debt and, crucially, getting purchasing power back into the economy.
Okay, that tackles the domestic side. But what about bringing in fresh money, new revenue streams from outside the country? How does the plan address that?
Well, here's a really bold one. A comprehensive golden visa program. We're talking long-term visas, maybe 10 years, for foreign investors. Conditions would apply, of course. Significant investment, or maybe a large deposit. And crucially, a path to citizenship after, say, 5 years of good conduct. Plus, it would grant property ownership rights.
Okay, that's significant.
And he throws out this absolutely staggering number. He suggests, what if you got 600,000 such people, and they each invested $1 million? That could bring in new money equal to Thailand's entire current GDP. Now, that's probably, an illustrative figure, but the strategy is clear. Boost real estate, boost construction, yes. But also, critically, expand the tax base. Because right now, only about 4 million people pay taxes out of 70 million. It's tiny.
And it has another angle too, right? Helping with the demographics.
Exactly. It helps address Thailand's declining population issue, where deaths are now actually exceeding births. So it's multi-layered.
Okay, moving from high finance to everyday life, what about the average citizen?
Right. He focuses on tangible cost savings, like proposing a fixed 20 baht flat fare for all public transport. Trains, for instance. That would be a huge change for commuters in Bangkok.
20 baht flat fare, okay.
And it's not just the price. It's linked to a plan to turn city bus routes into feeder systems. So they'd connect villages, maybe outlying areas, directly to the train stations, making the whole public transport network actually work, make it truly accessible.
Integrated transport makes sense.
There's also a suggestion for congestion charges on main roads. But the idea is that the money raised would directly subsidize these public transport improvements. So it's a loop.
Okay, energy. That's always a big one. What's the thinking there?
He highlights the huge cost of imported fuel. Diesel, something like 60 million liters a day. Petrol, 25 million liters a day. Massive dependency.
Yeah.
His vision, build a strong domestic electric vehicle ecosystem, an EV ecosystem right here in Thailand.
So less reliance on imports, build it at home.
Precisely. Leverage Thailand's existing strengths in the auto industry, build EV production plants domestically. Don't just import EVs and then import the electricity to run them. And this vision gets even bigger, making Thailand a green electricity hub. He proposes massive solar farms, like 40,000 megawatts capacity. That would need about 1.4 million rei of state land, which is enormous, about 550,000 acres.
Whoa, okay.
But payoff, potentially 2047 green electricity at a super competitive price, maybe 3 baht per unit. That could be a huge magnet for energy-hungry businesses. Think data centers, manufacturing.
Right, attracting new industries. But for any of this to work, the government machine itself needs an overhaul, presumably.
Absolutely. He insists on major government reform. And he has this unique idea. Task universities with independently restructuring ministries.
Universities, how would that work?
Yeah, like give them a mandate to do a top-to-bottom review. Look at the organization charts, the regulations, the laws, the budgets, everything.
Yeah.
Bring in outside expertise. Interesting approach. And the goal? The goal is to move towards something he calls a Dubai-like FEE system, meaning you pay for government services through clear, upfront, calculable fees, not these unofficial under-the-table payments.
Back to the fast-track fee issue.
Exactly. Make it transparent. He argues this would kill corruption, fund better civil servant welfare, and seriously improve service quality and speed. You pay a proper fee, you get proper service.
Okay, and what about spending? Big welfare program.
He champions zero-based budgeting for those, like the 30 baht universal healthcare scheme.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean cutting it. It means instead of just adding a percentage each year, you do a full review. What does it actually cost per person today? Recalculate from zero.
Could lead to big savings or at least better understanding of the real costs, efficiency gains.
Right. Now, with all these grand plans, how do you actually make sure things get done? Accountability, especially at the local level.
Good question.
He proposes bringing back CEO governors for the provinces.
CEO governors, what does that mean in practice?
It's not just a fancy title. It's about giving them real autonomy, but also real accountability, like running a business unit almost.
So focus on strategy, clear goals, performance reviews, continuous improvement, not just managing bureaucracy.
That seems to be the idea. And he also takes aim at military spending, suggests reallocating funds to modern needs like cyber warfare, and getting rid of old, expensive to maintain hardware. Don't just keep it rusting away.
Okay, so modernize government, improve finances. What about sparking completely new economic activity, new industries?
Yeah, he's got some really out there ideas here. Take canal and river dredging, usually a big government expense, right?
Sure is.
His idea, let citizens do the dredging and let them keep the soil and sand they dig out to sell it, the condition. They have to maintain the riverbanks properly afterwards.
So generate income for people, reduce flooding risks, maybe even create new transport options on the waterways, all without government spending.
That's the pitch. And related to that, he talks about large-scale land reclamation from the sea.
Like they do in Singapore or the Netherlands.
Exactly. It's common practice globally. Create hundreds of thousands of rays of new land, and then offer this new land on long leases, maybe 99 years. Why? To attract crucial private and foreign investment, because the government itself is pretty much at its borrowing limit.
Clever way to leverage state assets without direct state borrowing. Okay. What about protecting existing industries like that strong auto sector?
Good point. He suggests an excise tax on imported cars that don't have enough local content. Even if there's a free trade agreement meaning zero import duty, you could still apply this excise tax. It's a way to incentivize local production.
So it's not just pure protectionism, it's strategic.
Seems so. He talks about developing a distinctively Thai EV, maybe an electric tuk-tuk, but, a modern one, produced locally.
Right, building on existing strengths. Now, you mentioned data centers earlier, tied to the green energy plan.
Yes, he sees Thailand becoming a data center embassy for the world. It's a great phrase. He compares data centers to real estate, a booming market. And if Thailand has abundant, cheap, green electricity,
global tech companies would flock there to build and run their centers, making Thailand a major global hub.
That's the vision. Compete on energy costs and sustainability.
Okay, tourism. Obviously huge for Thailand. What's the plan there?
He wants Thailand to really cement itself as the aviation hub for ASEAN. He points out, look, Singapore charges about 1,500 baht per passenger for its service charge, the PSC. Thailand only charges 735 baht.
Big difference.
So he says, increase the fee, not necessarily to Singapore's level, but raise it. AOT, the Airports of Thailand Authority, could generate tens of billions more each year. And that money should be specifically earmarked for investment, expanding airports, better cargo facilities, building up aircraft maintenance hubs.
Address the bottlenecks, and maybe sort out some of those passenger experience issues too, like transit services, maybe regulations.
Exactly. He mentions things like poor transit services, restrictive rules, even the debate about smoking rooms, suggesting a need for a more passenger-focused approach. He also pushes a smart city initiative for tourist safety, AI-powered security cameras in tourist zones.
To counter negative perceptions about safety.
Yeah, boost confidence.
Yeah.
He even talked about offering a personal insurance guarantee to tourists. Plus, highlighting big events coming up. Tomorrowland, Formula One, Bangkok Fashion Week, aiming to fill hotels year-round.
Okay, now for the really controversial bit. Casinos.
Yep, entertainment complexes that include casinos. His argument is pragmatic. He says, look, if you have strict rules, really strict, know your customer, KYC, entry rules, maybe even ban politicians from entering.
Okay.
Then the revenue from the casinos could subsidize other attractions within the complex. Things like indoor ski slopes, ice skating rinks, make them affordable, accessible to families.
So the casino funds the family fun, essentially, turning it into a broader destination.
That seems to be the idea. Transform the image.
All right. Ambitious stuff. But with all the existing rules and regulations, how do you actually foster real cutting-edge innovation, not just talk about it?
He proposes innovation sandboxes.
Sandboxes, legal ones.
Exactly. Special legal frameworks that basically lets you bypass current laws temporarily to test and develop really advanced technologies. He specifically mentions things like gene editing, stem cell treatments for medicine,
Yeah.
but also for longevity, anti-aging stuff.
Wow, that's pushing the envelope.
And he's quite candid. He acknowledges that some of this stuff is probably already happening, informally, under the radar. So his point is, let's bring it out, regulate it properly within these sandboxes.
Formalize and control it, rather than pretend it's not happening. Okay.
And speaking of cutting edge, there's a big crypto development apparently on the horizon. a nationwide crypto sandbox planned for later this year, with the central bank cooperating.
Really? Nationwide, what would that allow?
It would allow major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum to actually be used for transactions across the whole country.
Whoa, that's a huge step, aimed at attracting the crypto community, the digital nomads.
Seems like it. Attract that wealth, that tech-savvy crowd to Thailand.
Okay, so we've had national strategy, big infrastructure, high tech. What about empowering people at the local level?
Yeah, he does bring it back down to the grassroots. He proposes reintroducing things like village funds and village budgets.
Giving more power and resources back to local communities.
Exactly. More decision-making power, more resources, so they can tackle their own specific problems. Bottom-up solutions.
And finally, looking ahead, AI. How does that fit into empowering everyone?
He sees AI as absolutely critical. Not a threat, but a tool. His idea, a national virtual AI training program. Make it accessible to everyone.
Train the whole population in AI.
Well, maybe not everyone, but make it widely available. And he suggests the training could be quick, maybe just 2 or 3 days to get the basics.
And then what?
After completing the training, people would get tokens. Free tokens to access AI services like ChatGPT or maybe DeepSeek.
So practical skills plus access to the tools.
Right. The vision is to boost everyone's potential, their efficiency. He uses this great analogy. Data centers are like crude oil. AI is the refinery. And the AI services, they're the finished product, like gasoline.
I see. So with the infrastructure, data centers, green energy, and the skills training, Thais can be...
Masters of AI, not just users, that's his phrase. Control the technology, leverage it.
That's quite a vision to end on.
Wow. Yeah, that was a really expansive deep dive, wasn't it? We covered so much ground there.
Yeah.
Economic restructuring, foreign investment, transport, energy, AI.
Indeed. I mean, the underlying message that comes through so strongly is this call for, well, unity, yes, but also really decisive action to finally tackle some of these long-standing issues, but also to grab these new opportunities. His story about his Singaporean friend highlighting Thailand's competitiveness issues, that really seems to underscore the urgency behind all this.
Absolutely. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening in? I think this deep dive really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? National challenges, proposed solutions, they all link up. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If this kind of, frankly, audacious vision can be put forward for a whole country, what creative, maybe unexpected, interconnected solutions could you find or advocate for? You know, in your own community, your own field of work. How can understanding these big picture strategies maybe inform how you approach challenges? Perhaps help build a more dynamic future right where you are.
And how his views now apply to Thailand's path forward today.
Right. So let's jump straight in. The immediate challenge facing Thailand, what's weighing heavier? Is it the political instability or is it the economic problems?
Well, he draws a very clear line between them.
Okay.
He suggests economic issues, right? They're often predictable, you can map out a fix, but they're slow. Implementing solutions takes time.
And political issues.
That's where he says it's different. Unpredictable, can cause huge damage, immense destruction, he says.
But solvable quickly. That seems paradoxical.
Exactly. He argues they can be resolved quickly if, and it's a big if, they're addressed head on. He brings in the human element, greed, shifting desires, makes politics much harder to predict than economics, even if the economy's weak.
So economic problems need patience, political ones need decisive action, maybe?
Something like that. Economics is analysis and time. Politics is chaos, but potentially faster turns.
Okay, speaking of politics then, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the secret deal, the deal lub, surrounding his return on August 22nd, 2023.
Right.
Was there a deal? How does his denial stack up?
Look, the source material is very, very explicit on this. He flatly denies any political deal. Full stop.
Just no deal.
His explanation is simple. He came back, he went through the legal process, he received royal mercy, no backroom political arrangement with anyone.
Okay, so from his side, case closed, even if the public buzz continues.
Pretty much. Now that leads to his upcoming court date, also August 22nd.
Yeah, what's the feeling there? He seems unconcerned.
Totally unconcerned, according to him. Cites a lack of evidence, even says the investigators admitted they wouldn't normally pursue it.
So legally, he feels he's on solid ground.
In his view, yes. Which then raises the next question, doesn't it?
Why stay so involved? If the legal side is okay and there's a new government, why the deep political engagement?
He frames it as an obligation, stemming from the royal command that reduced his sentence. He feels he can't just sit back while the country's facing big problems.
And his daughter's role. She's very prominent now.
It puts that down to her own dedication. Says she grew up around politics, public service. It's presented as, a natural continuation, not him pushing her.
Interesting framing. So, his main worry for the country then, what's the headline?
Political stability, that's the core issue he hammers home.
How does he see it impacting things day to day?
He argues it stops consistent work, creates this bureaucratic freeze where civil servants delay decisions because they don't know what's coming next week.
Right, a kind of paralysis. But here's a clash, isn't there? There's that survey mentioned.
Yes, the public opinion poll.
Where 62% say financial security is their top worry.
Yeah.
And politics, only 3%.
Yeah, a tiny fraction.
So what does that tell us? Is the government focusing on the right thing?
Yeah.
He's pointing at stability, the public's pointing at their wallets.
It's a fascinating disconnect. It suggests people's immediate everyday anxieties are economic, right? While he's arguing the root cause, the thing blocking economic progress is political instability.
Does he acknowledge that gap?
To some extent. He mentions the government needs to communicate better, maybe explain how tackling political issues will eventually help the economy. He thinks things are moving, just maybe people don't see the groundwork being laid.
Okay, let's shift to the economy itself. His
Okay.
vision for fixing it. What's the big picture?
The grand goal is clear. Lift Thailand to high income status, escape that middle income trap.
And the strategy. How does he plan to do that?
It's about attracting new money, significant foreign capital flowing in.
Right.
He pictures this money trickling down, boosting spending, creating self-sustaining growth. He harks back to the vibe of the early 2000s, his previous administration. Bustling markets, economic energy.
And he sees technology playing a role here, despite the structural damage he acknowledges.
Definitely. She admits the structure's taken a hit over the years, but he believes new tech offers shortcuts. Not ignoring the problems, but finding faster ways around them.
Innovative routes to recovery.
Exactly. Leveraging modern tools for old challenges.
Which leads us to this really interesting G to token idea. Can you unpack that a bit?
Okay, yeah, this is quite novel. The basic idea is to take government debt, like bonds, which are normally illiquid, just sitting there,
Right, locked up.
and convert them into liquid digital assets, tokens.
So like digitizing government bonds.
Sort of. Imagine small digital tokens representing that debt. These tokens could then be used for certain transactions, maybe paying government fees, specific purchases, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And here's the clever bit. Every time they're used, VAT gets generated for the government. So you're essentially spending the debt, making it circulate and generate tax revenue.
Huh. Making debt productive.
In a way, yes. He mentions a starting target of 5 billion baht, which sounds small compared to the 700 billion baht in annual bonds issued for the deficit.
Right, it's a drop in the ocean.
But it's likely meant as a proof of concept, a cautious first step into this digital finance space, showing it can work before scaling up.
Interesting. So G2 token is one source of liquidity. What else constitutes this new money?
Well, he talks about e-money, specifically making it easy to exchange with foreign cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then convert those into baht or USD via crypto exchanges.
Opening up digital currency flows.
And crucially, attracting large-scale foreign investment for major projects. He really stresses this point. Thailand needs foreign capital for the big stuff to avoid burdening the Thai people financially.
Makes sense. But what about the current economic picture? It sounds quite challenging.
It is. He points directly to capital flight. Foreign investors selling Thai stocks and, importantly, not coming back.
We see that on the index numbers, right?
Yeah.
Down from 1,600 to 1,200.
Exactly. It hammers home that old saying, money goes where it makes money. If the returns aren't there or the risk seems too high, capital leaves.
What does that signal about confidence?
It suggests, well, a lack of confidence, either in returns, stability, maybe policy direction. It's a worrying sign.
And tourism, usually a bright spot for Thailand.
World-class hospitality, he acknowledges that, but he says the spirit, the service attitude, is withered. Why? Low income?
So the economic hardship is directly affecting the service quality.
That's his point. He talks about the missing sparkle in their eyes across all ages and says there's an urgent need to rejuvenate people, restore their hope. It's not just sentiment, it directly impacts the economy, especially tourism.
That's a powerful connection. Hope is an economic driver.
Then there's household debt. staggering levels around 80% of GDP.
What's his proposed fix for that?
An asset management company, an AMC. Similar to the TMC after the Asian crisis, but this one focused on individual household debt, small businesses too.
How would that work without hurting the banks?
He argues the banks have already provisioned for these potential losses. So AMC takes on the bad debt, cleans it up at the micro level, helps individuals and small businesses get back on their feet without destabilizing the financial institutions.
Clearing the decks for households.
Essentially. Then there's public debt, 65% of GDP and rising.
That sounds high. Does he propose cutting spending?
Actually, no. He acknowledges they might even need to breach the 70% ceiling temporarily.
Okay, let's unpack that. Taking on more debt, how does that help?
The justification is growth. The idea is to invest, push for really strong GDP growth so that even if the absolute debt number goes up, the ratio of debt to GDP comes down because the economy is growing much faster.
Growing your way out of debt, relatively speaking.
Exactly. It's a gamble on growth. And he shared a story, quite revealing,
Oh, yeah.
about telling a central bank official, basically, don't give me GDP predictions until you've seen my government's budget and our plans to fix things.
Wow, very hands-on. Shows a strong belief in proactive management, not just reacting.
Absolutely, interventionist. Oh, and a quick mention, the new central bank governor, he says the name is known, expected to go to cabinet soon. That appointment's obviously key for monetary policy.
Right, crucial role. Okay, let's shift gears again. The underground economy, digital future, global trade. This underground economy figure is stunning.
It really is. He estimates it at 49% of GDP, almost half the economy, untaxed.
Just think about that. What does that do to government finances, to the formal economy?
It starves the government of revenue for public services, for investment, and he gives some stark examples of the leakage. Online gambling.
What are we talking?
He puts the figure at 150 billion baht flowing out of Thailand annually, says there are 3 trillion baht in deposits, maybe 500 billion actually gambled, but 150 billion is the net loss from the country each year.
A massive drain. And that's not all.
No, another 80 billion lost to scammers, call centers, and then this specific issue with WeChat Pay.
Ah, yes, the Chinese tourist spending.
Where they pay Chinese businesses directly, money bypasses the Thai system entirely. He used some very strong language here, quite controversial.
Saying Thailand was being
Raped for free was his voice, clearly expressing deep frustration that the country gets exploited, sees the activity, but none of the financial benefit.
strong words. So how do you tackle this? The gambling, the scams, the payment leakage.
Part of the strategy involves bringing over-the-top OTT services under regulatory control. Think Netflix, Uber, those kinds of platforms.
To tax them.
Primarily, yes. To collect taxes on data streaming, online services. It's about formalizing these digital flows, capturing revenue that's currently slipping through the net, bringing that lost money into the light.
He also talked about the forum title, Unlocking the Future of Thailand. What was his take on that?
He actually pushed back on the word locked. Said Thailand isn't inherently constrained or locked. He believes it's been mismanaged, particularly since 2006.
So it's not about unlocking potential, but fixing bad management.
That's his view. He directly links the mismanagement to declining GDP growth. It implies the stagnation isn't inevitable, it's reversible with the right leadership.
Which connects back to the stock market issues, right? The need for confidence.
Absolutely. Rebuilding trust in the Thai stock market is urgent, he says. Needs domestic and foreign investors to feel secure.
What specific measures did he suggest?
Holding the auditing firms accountable for dodgy accounts, not just pinning it on individual auditors. Cracking down hard on market manipulation, especially with those low-float stocks that can be easily pushed around. He mentioned Delta Electronics as an example.
Making the system more robust, holding gatekeepers responsible.
Exactly. And also encouraging companies, even state-owned ones, to buy back their own shares. Treasury stock.
As a signal of confidence.
Precisely. It says, we believe in our own value, so should you. Trying to boost that investor sentiment.
Okay. What about AI and digital assets? We touched on crypto earlier.
Yeah, he's clearly a big believer in leveraging AI. He brought up WorldCoin as an interesting example.
The Sam Altman Project, ChatGPT founder.
That's the one, collecting iris data globally. Their stated goal is proof of humanity, a way to tell humans from AI online in the future. They offer crypto for the scan.
Intriguing, but also slightly unnerving.
Well, and he acknowledges the risks. He points out that many Thais have a low understanding of these technologies, making them vulnerable to scam.
Like promises of Bitcoin for your iris scan.
Exactly, without real transparency about the data use or the actual value. So huge potential with AI and digital assets, but also significant dangers of deception.
Needs careful navigation. Let's quickly revisit some of those big government projects. The digital wallet, still happening.
Not scrapped, he says, but adjusted. Partly due to what he calls the Trump tax, not a literal tax, but his term for global economic headwinds, protectionism, currency issues making foreign investment harder.
So external pressures forced to rethink.
That, and needing to save funds for other urgent problems, it's been scaled back or modified.
And the entertainment complexes.
What?
The casinos?
He explains the casino element is crucial for the finances. Says these huge world-class complexes with concert halls, theaters, they often lose money on those parts.
So the casino subsidizes the arts and entertainment.
That's the model presented. Makes the whole thing viable. But he stresses strict KYC, know your customer rules would apply, not for the general public, aimed at specific visitors.
Preventing wider social issues, theoretically.
Yeah.
What about the land bridge, the 20-baht train fare?
Still long-term goals, he says, but bogged down, his diagnosis. Too much law, bureaucracy, legal hurdles.
And the solution?
He suggests emergency decrees, PRKs, using executive power to push things through faster for urgent matters.
That sounds controversial. High risk of court challenges.
Oh, definitely. He acknowledges that risk. But it shows his frustration with the slow pace of normal processes holding back development as he sees it.
A clash between urgency and due process.
You could say that. Then quickly on regional energy, the OCA, the overlapping claims area with Cambodia.
The gas reserves in the Gulf. Critical for low-cost energy?
Absolutely critical. But he laments the lack of progress on joint development, blames political weakness, misunderstandings on both sides. Says the Thai side gets too hung up on borderlines instead of just getting on with joint development for mutual benefit.
Missed opportunity there. And finally, he mentioned some huge potential investment.
Yeah, this was quite something. A UAE sheik, apparently managing $1.2 trillion in U.S. investments, looking to diversify into Asia.
1.2 trillion, that's astronomical.
Isn't it? And apparently the sheikh is keen to meet him once his travel restrictions are lifted. Even a fraction of that diversifying towards Thailand would be transformative. Huge signal of confidence if it happens.
Wow. Okay. So as we start to wrap this up, let's reflect on his overall approach. You said calculated risk.
Yeah, that seems key. He prefers risks you can assess, manage, not blind leaps. But underneath it all, there's this powerful, unwavering optimism.
A nothing is impossible belief.
If there's cooperation, a shared vision. It's quite fascinating, actually, how much conviction he retains that things can be turned around, despite all the history, all the challenges.
That conviction, coupled with the risk-taking, it's a potent combination.
Definitely shapes his outlook. He also talked about consensus, or rather, the difficulty of achieving it.
Right, you can't wait for everyone to agree.
That's his stance. He says you have to explain to critics, sure, but the nation needs to move forward. He likens disagreements sometimes to people having short-sighted versus far-sighted views. Not everyone sees the same long-term picture.
Interesting analogy. And finally, this idea of being a reverse mentor.
Yeah, I like that. He says he learns from everyone, including younger people, to stay current. Admits he can't know everything, especially now at 76. Shows a certain humility and openness to new ideas.
So after this whole deep dive into his thinking on Thailand's path forward, what does it all mean for you, the listener?
Well, despite all the political knots and the serious economic hurdles we've discussed, there's one theme that just keeps coming up again and again in his comments.
And that is?
The absolute need to restore hope among the Thai people.
Hope. It sounds simple, but think about how that connects to everything else we talked about. That lack of hope, or its presence, how it impacts the service quality in tourism, that missing sparkle in their eyes.
Exactly, or the willingness of ordinary people, of businesses, to invest back into their own country. It touches everything.
So the final thought for you to chew on. What really stands out to you about the concrete, tangible power of hope, or its absence in shaping a nation's economy, its mood, its entire future?
We encourage you to keep mulling over these insights. There's certainly a lot to think about.